I guess I want to ask you something that I wouldn't usually, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It just, we've had a really intense few years in regard to like ethnic differences between people and stuff and the
Mm-hmm.
perceptions around that. And you said something I kind of related to. Like, I just, in my life, uh, as a white person, it's just been like not in my life. It hasn't been a thing that I've like thought about as like a barrier between me and
Mm-hmm.
people. Like I'm different than black people or Hispanic people or whatever.
Right.
And one area that has been really good about revealing that to me and a really good way of like relating to people has been music, has been
Right.
opportunities to play with people and it just not even be a part of the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just players. We're just people playing music
Right.
and reacting to one another. And I guess just I don't know exactly how to pinpoint the question other than given how messy it's all been and how many voices we've kind of heard of differing opinions around that very subject and around I don't know whether we should be like trying to share these creative spaces with each other or not.
Right.
I guess what is your reaction or impression or interpretation of that?
Man, I feel like I may have heard it best recently over the last couple of years. There's a former NFL player who said that, man, if everybody had the chance to play a sport or play in the NFL in his case and be in a locker room, they would understand better how to live this life because there's so many different people of all different kinds of backgrounds, and we have to. It's not just because we have to, but because we're always around each other. We're on the same team, and our goal is to win. So we figure it out, and we learn how to get along
Yeah.
because we're working towards a common goal. Um, I thought that was huge. You mentioned music. I feel like music is similar in that way because if you're playing in a band or just playing a gig, you want the gig to be the best it can be. So in your own way, even if you're not talking much, you're gonna have to go in passing and kind of meet one another, and you're gonna have to get along, or the music's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
You have to at least get along during the gig.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I guess going back to what I said before, you learn how to get outside of yourself. If you're in a good band or having a good gig, you get outside of yourself for a common denominator, which is to have a great show. Um, I don't know. It's this whole thing. It's been hard for me and just I guess really eye opening for me because growing up, I did see the bad sides of things and different people in different ways, but I still am like, I don't know why they're like that, but I'm not gonna be that
Yeah.
way. You know what I mean? That's just always been in my mind and in my head, wondering, okay, I don't know why I had to go through that because of the color of my skin, but I'm still gonna do what I'm supposed to do because I feel like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and loving people and you know doing people the right way, like I was taught to do, and really just what is in me to do, I've always just had the hope if I keep doing this, maybe somebody else will, and then it'll just carry on. But yeah, it's been really eye opening. I think in a way, social media has helped. It's going to sound backwards, but kind of helped in that because it's forcing us to have these conversations
Yeah.
that have just gone unchecked for so long. Um, the fact that even in schools they still don't want to teach everything. I mean,
Right.
it's hard, but eventually if we're gonna see any change, you really in your own personal life too. If you ever want to see change, you gotta eventually face the bad stuff to see stuff that you really want to change, even if it's like bad eating. You gotta at least sit down and say, okay, man, I've gained about 30 pounds now, or I can't keep eating that. You have to face it to change it. So to me, if you think about all the stuff that's coming out, a lot of it's been due to social media. Stuff's being videoed, no matter what the situation is, um, and it's forcing people to see, okay, some bad stuff really is happening. We just weren't seeing it before, probably because we didn't have cameras in our pockets. But I think the hard thing is, for many people, it's just feeling like it's worth it to stop to actually talk about it and to actually try to face it. Um, I still I think about this every once in a while. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody, and at least from where I grew up, it was kind of one of those situations where it wasn't weird for me to have to go through something like that or not be able to date somebody because they're, different color skin. But you see somebody in a similar situation that wouldn't have approved, and then they have a grandkid that's mixed, and they're treating them totally different because that grandkid changed their life because they had to think outside of what they knew before.
Yeah.
Like, to me, those are really beautiful situations because I've seen people and it's like, man, I don't judge people, but it's like I kind of know what your background probably was, but seeing how you're treating that kid probably forced you to change. You know what I mean? But not everybody's forced to live through those situations. So
right.
It's just hopes that maybe they meet somebody that's not like them, or something that forces them to have a conversation. Yeah, it's my hope for everybody, but you're not going to reach everybody. It's not going to be 100%, just changed.
Yeah.
I don't think. Hate is going to be there, and people are going to hold on to it like it's a trophy that they can't throw away. So
that part is valuable to mention, that like the world is always going to have certain obstacles as far as like when we can imagine a utopia and an ideal world where nobody's like a threat to anybody else.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have a bit of an uphill battle on our hands in that regard, but yeah, I mean, I think what you said is exactly right. Like me just asking if we could like bring this up was like kind of uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And it's like that's probably not the best thing, for us to try. It's probably not the best way for you and I to try to relate to each other is by like limiting what it is that we talk about and how honest and real we want to try to be with each other.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What comes to mind when you said that is think about it like this: it was a weird feeling for you, but think about it if you first start lifting weights and the weight's really heavy, but the more you do it, that weight is going to get easier and easier. So at first it's like the feeling weird, it's because we don't know each other that well yet.
Yeah.
For one, but the more you talk about it, you stop feeling weird about it. And so if you have to have the conversation with somebody else that you haven't before, you're more open to it. And maybe because you're more open to it, it opens them up to have a conversation too.
Yeah.
So it's just really kind of exercising that muscle in the long run. But we all have to have the conversations, man. And, even with the George Floyd situation, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others that we're seeing, I guess, the trials and stuff happening now, I think it's at least opening people up to at least think about it. If they have to stop for a split second and think about something that they wouldn't have cared about before, at least that's some kind of progress in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I say, I'm me in my life so far, I've just been really glad to have this medium of music to be a way to just let everything else about people be secondary for the most part. I've had such a crazy eclectic group of people that I've played with over the years, and I don't know, I guess I just thought it was worth voicing that it's like, because we're talking about the arts, I guess, and I just, given how politically divided everything has been over the last few years, I feel like that has contributed to the degree that maybe people are disengaging with art. And I feel like sometimes that it would be truly helpful to the world if we kind of, rather than focusing our attention on spending time on Twitter and like trying to be snarky toward other people and trying to be sort of whatever, trying to make sure that we're participating in the combat between these two extreme sides.
Right.
Probably be good for us to like have the option to consider gravitating towards spending your time doing something that actually gives you an opportunity to let those things, these ideas of like political affiliation, be secondary enough that you could do something creative with somebody.
Yeah, I think the arts in general, man, are just huge. So it really hurts my heart to hear when they're trying to, take certain arts out of school, for example, because it's huge, like you said. Think about it. If you go to a concert, you never know who you're gonna see, and really, when you're at a concert, you're just listening to the music. There could be thousands of people that think totally different thing, about totally different about any subject than you, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're all there, one, just enjoying this one concert. To me, I think that's why music and arts in general are so important that people don't really realize, because it really does bring us all together.
Yeah.
Like, we can all think differently, and that's fine, but we gotta have, I guess, like what you were saying, we gotta have that still there, the arts there. Figure out how to put the arts even in social media to where, hey, instead of you doing this, somehow draw you to something that's more positive, like the arts. Instead of do this, why don't you go comment and watch this? This is available to you.
It's that connectivity you were talking about too. It's like those things are what make us connected to other people and like feel other people's humanity, And I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's something that maybe people who know how to help create that are affected by it a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know, but I think that's something that most people experience together in a lot of different scenarios, and we're just watching, in many cases, we're watching that experience, that ability to be connected to people diminish, and we're watching this ability or this training that we're doing to ourselves to hate people get worse.